Today on Outside the Box Reviews, we're taking a look at the NECA Ultimate Chucky Season 1 figure. Or I think as the box puts it, Ultimate TV Show Chucky. But looking at what comes packed in here, I think this is exclusively Season 1. Some of the teases of it at toy shows and Comic-Cons listed it as Season 1. So, yeah, gonna call it a Season 1 figure. I think this is the third Ultimate Chucky we've gotten from NECA so far. They've done some ones way back in like the Cult Classics line, but as far as these properly scaled, better articulated figures, this comes after the one that was mostly the original 3 movies, but also had a head sculpt from Curse, and then the kind of bride/seed version. And we'll get into a comparison later on in the video, but I was very pleasantly surprised to find that this is actually a brand new body, it seems. There are a lot of upgrades in terms of things like articulation, and just visually, it looks a lot different than its previous counterparts. I've really loved the Chucky series so far. As of recording this, episode 2 of season 3 just aired. And I think it's really cool that we've had the same creative force behind this series since the beginning, and are still able to see the original creator of the character play around with the character's backstory and mythology and new abilities. So let's take a closer look at this figure and see if what they say is true. Is a true classic, never go out of style? Chucky technically comes with 6 hands, but we're just going to look at 5 of them to start with because one of them kind of goes with another piece. So we have a pair of kind of flat open hands, we have a pair of gripping hands, and then we have one flipping the bird hand. Flipping them over, there's nothing crazy in terms of detail, there's really just kind of the standard wrinkles you'd see at the joints. They are doll's hands after all, so that fits. One thing you'll notice with these is that they differ from the original 2 Ultimate Chucky figures because they actually have posts on their wrists as opposed to just having ball joint ports like the other ones did. And while I like what this means in terms of added articulation, it does mean you're not going to be putting these hands on your previous versions of Chucky. For accessories, we only really get 2. We get the knife that Chucky uses throughout the series, which is really reminiscent of the Halloween H40 knife. I really like this accessory. They have a nice gloss black on the handle, the rivets are nice and shiny, and the blade actually has a really nice chrome effect to it, looking like just a super clean, sharp kitchen knife. Fits really well with Chucky because, of course, he's going to be pulling whatever's available to him, grabbing it and going and stabbing somebody. So it makes sense that it might be just a super clean knife that nobody's used really before. Nothing really different going on the other side, but just a really nice clean accessory. Our other accessory is this bundle of syringes from the hospital scene. So it's got 3 separate syringes here. They have like a fake effect of having liquid in them, some kind of yellowish orange liquid. For the most part, they're clear. They do have a white topper and the silver needles at the bottom. I do wish he came with 2 of these because it would be cool to replicate the scene of him stabbing these with like 1 bundle in each hand. He had a lot of needles in that scene, but this does okay. It's hard to tell if I'm even flipping this thing over, but kind of just looks the same on all sides. They're a little out of whack with each other in terms of like all lining up at the top, but they are just kind of a set of 3 uniform pieces. Chucky comes with 4 different head sculpts. The first one is this one that he gets right out of the box, which is kind of his more neutral smirking face. I really love that they were able to capture the specific look of the doll that they use, or the dolls, I guess, multiple have been used in the show, but it is a very specific look that is in the show that they've captured here. It's kind of like they've refined that good guy doll design, so it looks a little less handmade now, and it's very kind of crisp and clean. Again, not a whole lot of like skin texture or anything because he is a doll, but they have the expression, that smirk, kind of captured really well here. His eyes are a nice clear blue. He has kind of the more uniform hair that he has in this show. There is some kind of highlights going on in his orange hair as well, which is really nice. You have the freckles going on his face, the cleft in his chin, all really nicely done. Turn him to the side, you get a little better look at the side of his hair. There's the back, and then gotta go a little bit 3/4 on the side there because the camera doesn't want to focus. Next up we have his evil grinning face, a must when it comes to Chucky. Once again, really nicely done when it comes to bringing out all the details of his face. His eyes are really clear, all the kind of creases in his face as he makes that expression. The hair has similar detail to the other one. Should also point out that the hair is slightly rubberized, but it is pretty solid, so it's not going to bend too easily. And we'll give him a quick spin around here. Really not a whole lot to see with that mess of hair. And maybe if it's going to focus, that's that other side as well. Third face, of course, we have to have Chucky laughing. Again, great capturing that facial expression. I love how sinister he still looks during the laugh. We've gotten other laughing faces for Chucky before, and this really just has a much more twisted, kind of malevolent sense to it than some of those. And there we've got the side, the back, and the other side. And then for our final head, we're going to mix things up and also include the arm accessory because this all goes together to make one look for Chucky. So this is the burnt face after the house party kind of thing where the house gets lit on fire and Chucky gets all mangled. This was definitely a surprising moment in the series, and I honestly was not expecting them to recreate it in figure form. So this has like the most detail going on here. The one side of his face is still kind of what we come to expect. Has that kind of smile going on, the arched eyebrows, all that stuff. The hair looks pretty much how it normally does in the other ones, but the other side of his face is just a drooping flesh and plasticky mess. This head kind of has like a skirt going off of it, which nicely covers up part of the arm, and then the additional detailing on that arm gives that full effect of all the damage done. The melted side has some nice colors in there, lots of different shades of red and some kind of grayish and flesh tones in there to really bring out that look. I love that the eye is kept clean so that you can just kind of see it drooping there, but it looks more or less normal underneath. The hair is of course melted away in a lot of spots, so it kind of is broken up there. I don't remember in the show if the hair melted into the face any. The hair here kind of looks like it's normal hair just cut short over top of that. So I kind of would have liked to see more of a singed effect on the ends of it at least. Just kind of add some black paint to the ends of the little strands there. But overall, it looks really cool. If we spin him around to the side, it is just a mess of twisted flesh and plastic and cloth. For bringing the camera down a little bit, you can see the arm is all chewed up and it's a bloody mess as well. The clothing's all torn up. The side of the hand is burnt as well, bringing in some of that same coloration into it. And he's just a mess. Look at him from the back, still very visible damage, but you can see it kind of gets cut off at the back of the head. And if we look at him from the other side, again, kind of a two-faced deal where he looks more or less normal on the one side, all damaged on the other. And to get another look at the arm there, you can see a little bit more of that damage. But I do like they gave us the ability to kind of make a brand new Chucky out of this figure. And then while you can't swap hands, you can swap heads. So here's the good guy doll from that first release, and it pops right onto this body. It does look like we might lose a little bit of the neck there, but it's not terrible. So I think this would work. As for the rest of the figure, they did a great job detailing it. He has his striped shirt underneath. All of his outfit is pretty clean, or pretty much entirely clean. We have his good guy's overalls that are a soft rubber piece over top of the hard plastic of the sweater kind of part underneath it. Here's the kind of trim piece around his neck and around his wrists. There is obviously some noticeable joints on this thing, but that kind of comes with the territory on something like this, especially being so small. On the back, you have the overalls crisscrossing over his back and more of that striping detail on his shirt. He, of course, has that iconic good guy's pattern throughout his overalls, and it continues over the entire thing. This also continues onto the legs, and even onto the joints you see that patterning going on, which is kind of impressive. You see the little turned up bottoms of his overalls with that same stripe pattern, and then the backs of his good guy shoes. More of that same detailing on the front, but you get a better look at the shoes themselves. And then he even has the good guy patterns on the bottom of his shoes, but no peg holes, so you gotta make this guy balance. The previous Chuckies were lacking this detail, but did have peg holes, so this is the trade-off here. And honestly, I'm down with it. For articulation, he has a ball joint at the base of the head, so he'll look a little bit up, a little bit down. You could pivot a little bit side to side and rotate. Not a ton of range there, but it works all right. The shoulders can rotate a full 360. They can go out to the side. We can hinge single joint at the elbow that goes about 90 degrees. We could also rotate there. The wrists will rotate as well as hinge up and down. He has a mid-torso joint underneath the overall, so you can move kind of his body independent of those overalls. So he'll swivel side to side. He'll tilt back and forth, and he will go a little bit forward and back. Of course, this is all limited by the overalls themselves, but I do like you can kind of give him a more stretched back look up at somebody or something like that. Legs will kick forward. It is soft rubber here, so you get a little bit of play there. It also is not connected on the bottom, so you get more play than you would have otherwise. They don't go too far back. They will go out to the side a fair bit. You can rotate at the upper leg. Get a single joint at the knee that bends about 90 degrees. You can rotate at that joint as well. And the foot has a hinge, so you can hinge down, you could hinge up, you could pivot at the foot, and you could also rotate. I will say, I just realized now that he does not have socks, so you just have a flesh tone underneath there, where it probably should have been white. But this added articulation, especially to the feet, is definitely welcome for me. The wrist articulation as well is a cool addition, and these are things we did not get in the previous releases. With the melted head, of course, you're going to lose some of that articulation, so you can move still a little bit up and down at the neck, a little bit of pivot. You can also rotate there. It gets in the way a little bit. The arm, I find my shoulder joint here is really stiff. You can still come out to the side. It's going to be limited by this piece coming down. And it just kind of feels harder to get up and down there. Also rotate forward and back, but of course hindered by that piece too. You do the same single joint elbow there, so go up and down as well as rotate. And then the hand just has you can't tell if it's a ball joint or a swivel joint. It feels like it's just a swivel, but kind of looks like it might be a ball joint. So you do lose a little bit of articulation at that point. For a size comparison, here are our good guys and good girl doll all together. So they all basically are the same height, but you can see the differences that have gone through the different iterations of Chucky. See, this TV show version is a lot brighter. The blue is much more vibrant. The undershirt maybe not quite as extreme of a difference, but I also noticed that like the stripes on the sweater are applied cleaner. The shoes are a nice brighter red, and honestly the details on them look to kind of merge together a little better. Overall, I think they've done a really nice job with this new Chucky. And I do kind of like that the older versions are kind of a darker tone. I don't remember if that's 100% accurate to the film or not, but it kind of reminds me more of looking at something filmed on film versus something filmed on digital with this new Chucky. So it actually kind of works really well in my eye. And then to give us a couple regular human size comparisons, here is Michael Myers with his head getting cut out of frame, and everyone's favorite Activia swilling grandma, Laurie Strode. There's a slightly wider angle on them so you actually see Michael's head. So I actually really love this figure. It's funny, like, trying to come up with ways to pose him, I keep thinking of things I want to do with this melted head. I think just because there are a lot of funny parts with the melted head version of Chucky in this series. But honestly, I'm already thinking about buying multiple copies to build up my Chucky army. I do wish this had come with a good guy head. Obviously, we do have that good guy head from the previous release, and I think I might actually have an extra one from those random, like, Easter egg things full of random horror crap that NECA put out. But it would really be nice if it was one of the normal pack-ins so that you could really army build this Chucky, because there are like 70-something Chuckies in that first season. Spoiler alert. If you made it this far and didn't want to know spoilers. But honestly, it would make this figure really cool to be able to do all those kind of swaps and everything. I don't remember if that original Chucky figure is still easy enough to get. I haven't paid attention to it for a while. I know I can go to my comic shop and buy the Bride version, but I don't know about that first version. But either way, I think this is a good buy if you like the series. I think even if you just want a Chucky and you're not too picky on the exact version of him that you get, this is a nice, just solid Chucky figure anyway. And I think he is a pretty high recommend. The only thing is, I wish he did come with a little more. 4 heads total is a lot for a NECA figure, but seeing that you're paying similar prices than you would to like a Universal Monster figure that comes with that number of heads a lot of times, there's just not a whole lot else. Maybe another weapon or two would have really brought this set full circle. But I think it does what it needs to do and works well enough for what it is. And hey, I couldn't make it through this review without torturing our stand-in Randy Falk figure. But yeah, this has been another Outside the Box Reviews, and I'm your friend to the end. Heidi ho.